language. The objective is whether you can describe and analyze and present the statistical or other information presented in the graph, chart, etc., etc. The second task requires a written argument. It carries more marks than task one. So 20 minutes and 40 minutes. So you can easily guess that more points are allocated to task two, 40 minutes. You can say as the double. To get a good score on the writing test, IELTS writing test, you must answer both tasks. It does not matter which section you do first. You can answer question 2 first, task 2 first, and task 2 second, or otherwise. This is one example of a real IELTS writing task 1. Writing task 1. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. So these are the instructions for task 1. For this task, the instruction reads as follows. The graph and table below give information about water use worldwide and water consumption in 2 different countries. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. So these are the instructions for writing task 1. And then the graph, global water use by sector, and then the table, water consumption in Brazil and Congo in 2000. What you will have to do is summarize the information presented in the graph and in the table by selecting and reporting the main features. You're not going to describe each and every information presented. Rather, you will select the main features and report them. And of course, you will have to compare different elements where relevant, not if relevant. Of course, there will be some issues which you will have to compare because the task challenges your ability to compare and contrast between different dominant trends presented in the graphic organizers, I can say, graphs, charts, tables, pie charts, etc., etc. So first of all, you will have to select the main features and report them, the main trends, the main patterns, And then you'll have to make a comparison. Let's try to, let's have a look at the graph. So say the graph shows global water use by sector. What are the different sectors? Agriculture, industrial use, and domestic use. These are the three sectors. I mean, water used in the agricultural sector, industrial sector, and domestic sector. And the time period is 1900 to 2000, so 100 years. So this graph shows water use in three sectors during a century. So the horizontal line shows the time, and the vertical line shows the water use, amount of water used. 1,000 kilometer cube, 2,000 kilometer cube, and 3,000 kilometer cube. So if we look at the domestic use, we can see that the least amount of water has been used in the domestic sector during the century. In 1900, you can see that it's probably 100 kilometer cube in 1900, and it increased very slowly, very slightly, and by the end of 2000, or by the year of 2000, it reached only maybe 400 kilometer cube. Industrial use. So again, up to 1950, you'll see up to 1950, both domestic use, industrial use, and you can say water use in the agricultural sector. I mean, water consumption, global water consumption in all three sectors increased slowly, slightly, and steadily up to 1950 during the first half of the century. And during the second half of the century, we can see that water consumption in all these three sectors started increasing. But in case of the domestic use, the rate of increase is again slow. Industrial use, we can say that it is increasing moderately, not slowly, moderately, gradually. There is a gradual increase. But in the agricultural sector, we can see that the increase is dramatic, rapid increase from 1950 onward up to 2000. Water consumption in the agricultural sector increased dramatically, we can say. It's a very rapid increase, although we can notice some fluctuations. Let's say, and it's quite obvious that the agricultural sector. So, what are the dominant features? We can say that the agricultural sector is the highest consumer of water globally, and then industrial sector, and the domestic sector is as usual. And 1950 is a landmark here. Before 1950, the situation is um, somewhat, it's a slow increase. It indicates a slow increase and nothing significant. But after 1950, we can say that just a few seconds. Sorry for the interruption. So we can kind of assume that by 1950, something significant took place that led to the rapid increase of global water consumption in these three sectors. Maybe revolutionary changes took place in agriculture. It could be because of a population boom. In case of the industrial sector, we can assume that probably something significant took place in the industrial sector, maybe an industrial revolution, etc., etc. Now let's have a look at the table. Two countries. Water use in two countries in 2000 has been presented in this table. The two countries being Brazil and Democratic Republic of Congo. Look at their population. There's a huge difference. Look at the contrast. 170 million in Brazil and 5.2 million in Congo. And irrigated land, arables, 26,500 kilometers square, and here only 100 kilometers square. Water consumption per person, so per capita water use in Brazil is 359 meter cube, whereas it's only 8 meter cube in Democratic Republic of Congo. So we can see that this from this table we can understand that in case of the global water consumption, not all countries have experienced a dramatic increase of water use, probably. Or, in other words, we can say that not all countries use use a similar amount of water in different sectors. Although here only the agricultural sector, water consumption in the agricultural sector in Brazil and DRC has been presented. So there is an inequality in the use of water in the agricultural sector. And we can also assume that the same thing might apply to the industrial sector as well. Not all countries are industrially developed, and water consumption in the industrial sectors of these countries is probably very, very different. Model answer. It has been prepared by an examiner as an example of a very good answer. It's a very good answer, but it's a sample. You can write your own answer. However, please note that this is just one example, but out of many possible approaches. Yes. So let's read it quickly to have an understanding how task one could be handled brilliantly. I'm giving you 1 minute for reading the selected portion. All of you should read. We need a volunteer. Can somebody read out for us? Is there any volunteer? Very quickly. Tasmia Kamal raised hand. Would you like to read? Tasmia Kamal, or it's an
Yes, sir.
accident?
I would like to.
Okay. Thank you, Tasmia. Read. Start.
The graph shows how the amount of water used worldwide changed between 19 and 19,000 and 200,
1900,
2000,
1900 and 2000.
1900 and 2000. Throughout that century, the largest quantity of the water was used for agriculture purposes, and this increased dramatically from about 500 kilometer cube to around 3,000 kilometer cube in the year 2000. Uh, uh, Water used in the industrial and domestic sectors also increased, but consumption was minimal until mid-century. From 1950 onward, industrial use grew steadily to just over 1,000 kilometer cube, while domestic use rose more slowly, only 300 kilometer cube, both far below the level of consumption by agriculture. আর পড়বো স্যার?
Thank you. Thank you, Tasmia. Thank you, Tasmia. So, you see, there is an introductory section, even though it's only one sentence. In task one, you must write an introductory section. The graph shows how the amount of water used worldwide changed between 1900 and 2000. This is the thesis statement of this report. You can say, one sentence introduction. And the second paragraph focuses on the graph. Throughout the century, the largest quantity of water was used for agricultural purposes. You see, this is the most prominent feature. That's why the writer started the second paragraph by referring to the agricultural sector, because this sector sees or saw the highest amount of water use. And this increased dramatically from about 500 kilometer cube to around 3,000 kilometer cube in the year 2000. See, this is the most prominent, most striking feature of this graph. And then water use in the industrial and domestic sectors also increased, but consumption was minimal until mid-century. Look at the language. In our discussion, we also identified this feature. You see, you need to get a very good score, you need to be able to use synonyms. You should be able to paraphrase. You should not copy information from the question, from the instructions given. See? From 1950 onwards, industrial use grew steadily to just over, you see, to just over 1,000 kilometer cube. You see, this is 1,000, and we can see that water consumption in the industrial sector is a bit higher than 1,000. So this has been expressed as to just over 1,000 kilometer cube. What does it mean? It means you should be able to express the slight differences in quantities. See, to just over 1,000 kilometer cube. And this is very important for the IELTS test. They should be able to present the very slight, intricate, nuanced differences. This is also part of the assessment in writing task one. While domestic use rose more slowly to only 300 kilometer cube. And you'll see, look at the sentence structure. You should be able to demonstrate that you can use a number of syntactic structures. Not all simple sentences, not all complex sentences, not all compound sentences. Instead, there should be a good mixture of simple, complex, compound sentences. Principal clauses, subordinate clauses, coordinate clauses as well. Look at the syntactic structure of this sentence from 1950 onwards. Industrial use grew steadily to just about 1,000 kilometer cube, while domestic use rose more slowly to only 300 kilometer cube, comma, and then both far below the levels of consumption by agriculture. Look at the last phrase. Look at the complexity that underlies this long sentence. Preposition phrase, prepositional phrase, then one complete thought, industrial use grew steadily to just over 1,000 kilometer cube, comma, then while a dependent word, then domestic use rose more slowly to only 300 kilometer cubes, comma, and then both far below the levels of consumption by agriculture. That means both refers to the two subjects in the previous two clauses, industrial use and domestic use. So both far below the levels of consumption by agriculture. This is a modifying phrase, and this modifies the previous two clauses. So syntactically, you should be able to demonstrate your command of the syntactic possibilities, grammatical possibilities in your writing. We need another volunteer to read the second paragraph, and this time is Tausif Niyam. Thank you, Tausif. You can start reading. Yes. Can you read out a bit louder? A bit louder? Ah, yes. This is, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Tausif. So the table illustrates the differences in agricultural consumption in some areas of the world by contrasting the amount of water, differences in agriculture consumption, or we can say in differences in water consumption in agriculture. Anyway, so Brazil and contrasting the amount of irrigated land, you see, the amount of irrigated land and that in. So that is a demonstrative pronoun and it replaces the amount of irrigated land. You see, this is a feature of formal writing. The amount of irrigated land in Brazil with the amount of irrigated land in DRC. So to avoid repetition, you should use a demonstrative. So by contrasting the amount of irrigated land in Brazil with that in Congo, the problems faced by the students of the Department of Economics may be different from the problems faced by the English department students. So we can repeat the problems while speaking, but in writing, it's better. It is expected, of course, that the problems experienced by the students of the Department of Economics may be very, very different from those faced by English department students. So you should be playing with words. You should be playing with the grammatical categories of words. You should be able to play with the syntactic possibilities. That means you should demonstrate an advanced level ability to use the vocabulary, the grammatical structures in your writing. And that will earn a higher grade for you on any writing test. Let's have a look at the IELTS writing task 2. This is again an original task that and appeared on an IELTS test delivered previously. Read it. Everybody should read the instruction. You have 30 seconds. So you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Write about the following topic. Successful sports professionals can earn a great deal more money than people in other important professions. Some people think this is fully justified, while others think it is unfair. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. So one statement has been given. You have to take one position. Either you have to say that the sports professionals earning a great deal more money than other professionals. So this is justified or this is unfair. You can say this is justified and you can say, no, this is unfair. And you'll have to provide arguments in support of your position. That means this relates to the argumentative genre of writing. We are doing argumentative essay writing. Um, sorry. Did we discuss argumentative essay writing? Yes or no?
No, sir, not yet.
Not yet. So we will do in
Sir,
the
yes.
coming sessions. So as writing task 2 is related to the argumentative genre of writing, argumentative essay writing, 250 words. So that's it. I'm not going to discuss the sample answer now. I'll upload it in the Google Classroom. You can read it, and we will again get back to this task when we will discuss argumentative essay writing. I would like to go back to Wendy Shahanaya. So this is around 49, yes, 49 pages long. This handout, this is a split section, a section split from Wendy Shana's book on IELTS writing. And here is a beautiful discussion on how to interpret graphs, charts, flowcharts, line graphs, bar charts, pie charts, tables, etc. The useful vocabulary and the useful structures have been discussed in this handout, in this chapter. This chapter will train you with the lexical and syntactic repertoire that you must use in answering task 1 on IELTS or while interpreting data for your reports, research papers, dissertations, etc. And it focuses on each and every micro skills related to the vocabulary and syntax. That you must use when answering task 1 on IELTS in particular, and in any form of writing in general. For example, let us look at this figure, Sales of Computers 1995. You see on the horizontal axis, January, February, March, April, and a vertical line shows the units of computers sold in 1995. So from January to February, we can see that this is a slow increase in sales of computers. But in February to March, you see, we can easily notice that this is a rapid increase. And then there is a fall. Let's see how we can explain these. You see, January to February, these are the nodes. So it prepares you step by step so that you can better handle task one, so that you can answer task one efficiently. January to February, so see 1995, so past tense, you need to use past tense while writing the report. January, February increased slightly, February to March increased dramatically, March to April decreased moderately. These are the notes. Now you see, we can write these notes in complete sentences. You see, first time period, subject of the sentence, verb to describe change, then adverb to describe how much change. So from January to February, sales increased slightly. From February to March, sales rose dramatically. From March to April, sales fell moderately. So you can write decrease, you can write fell. So, and you see, study the following table. First to describe an upward trend. You see the upward arrow, it indicates an upward trend. You can use rise, increase, and grow. There's three verbs, rise, increase, grow. And there are other verbs, which you will come across later while practicing different samples of task one. Rise, increase, grow. So, etc., etc. And first to describe a downward arrow, a downward trend, sorry, downward trend indicated by the downward arrow, fall, decrease, decline. These are the three verbs you can use. You should not use only one verb. Rather, if you have used rise once, then the next time you should use increase, then probably grow. So first fall, then you can use decrease, then you can use decline. And on the left, you see, there are three arrows. The second arrow indicates if this is the trend, this is also an upward trend, growing trend. So this indicates rapidly, dramatically, sharply. And this one, you see, you can say maybe 40-degree angle, at a 40-degree angle, or 35, moderately, steadily, and slightly, and gradually, not slightly. So this type of patterns, to describe these type of patterns, you can use adverbs like moderately, steadily, and gradually. You see? So it equips you with the lexical repertoire you need to answer task one efficiently. And the arrows at the bottom on the right, you'll see if there is a trend, there is a pattern like this, you'll see, then slightly and slowly. There are other examples as well, you see. So figure 4, we're not going to discuss this. Rather, let's now focus on look at figure 3 again. In describing the graph, we constructed our sentences the following way. Subject, verb to describe the change, then adverb to describe the amount of change. Sales increased slightly. This was the pattern, syntactic pattern. We could also express the same thing this way. You see, an alternative structure has been provided. So you are being trained with an alternative structure. You can write sales of computers increased slightly from January to February, or you can say from January to February, there was a slight increase in sales, an alternative structure. And there are other structures as well. From January to February, there was noticed a slightly increasing trend in sales of computers. So more alternative structures will be provided in the exercises that follow. See, from February to March, there was a dramatic rise in sales. From March to April, there was a moderate fall in sales. So see, here sales is the subject, but here we have an introductory there that introduces the subject, but the subject has been presented as an object to the preposition in sales, or an alternative structure. These structural possibilities are nothing new and difficult for you. It's true, but you need to learn these alternative structures so that you can use them, so that you can be aware of using varying syntactic structures and grammatical categories of the vocabulary items while writing. If you practice like this, you will be aware that I can use these grammatical structures in my writing. Otherwise, maybe if you are not aware, if you are not on guard, it may be that you will end up overusing some structures and underusing some others, which will create an impression on the mind of the examiner that you are not serious in writing. Or yet a polar impression that probably you are not able to use alternative structures correctly and efficiently and appropriately. So that's why this book will equip you with all the possibilities that you may be required to use in your writing. And you see there are more exercises. All these exercises are very important. I'm not going to continue the discussion further. So I have stopped recording. Your homework is to finish reading this entire handout, 49 pages, thoroughly. And if you are working on the PDF, certainly you are. If you have got a printer, you can get it printed as well. Work on the handout. If you are using the PDF, you can write on the PDF as well. If you have Adobe Writer or things like that, you can search for the book, the entire book online as well. If available, you can get it downloaded. It is available somewhere, certainly. So read this handout thoroughly. So this is the end of our session. Now, do you have any questions? I can see that 95 students have joined. How many are we actually? আমরা কতজন মোট 132, right? 132. So 95, not bad. And the recording will be provided in the Google Classroom so they can follow it, they can use it. Do you have any questions?
So my literature is a little weak. How to strong it, make it strong, in
Sorry,
order to write it properly. What method I should use?
can you repeat it?
sir, my literature, writing is very weak. How to strengthen it? How
Okay,
to
I
make it
got it.
more proper?
Got it. So that's why um, we are practicing writing um, by following the books and handouts, the class discussions. You can train yourself, right? For example, if you read this handout and do all the exercises and learn the lessons presented in the 49 pages, I'm sure your writing skill will improve dramatically. That's why we are introducing these materials. Read the writing materials we are providing. Follow the book and learn new words, which I'm sure you will certainly be learning because all the study materials used at your department are written in English. So you should, if you take the issue of learning vocabulary seriously, I'm sure you are going to maintain a diary or notebook. So there are two approaches. One is because you understand what has been written, so you don't care about the language. This is one approach. A lackluster approach, not so serious approach. So you won't find any difficulty with the disciplinary content, but if you want to improve your writing, you should focus on the language elements presented in the lessons of each and every course. This is how you can improve your vocabulary. Of course, discipline oriented vocabulary as well as vocabulary for common use in everyday conversation. In every aspect, you can improve. When you are reading something written in English, focus on the language issues. Try to identify that this is important for me. This is how you can improve your vocabulary, your sentence skills. And if you remember, we have started a discussion on the sentence skills, which are relevant to every writing context. Fragments, run-ons. So John Lange's book and some more books I may suggest when we finish the semester. So for the time being, read the materials I have provided. Do the exercises included in the books. That will help you improve your writing skills dramatically because all the important micro writing skills have been included here. And these are very, very, these books are written from highly uh, professional perspectives and written by big professionals in the field. So these materials can help you practice. You need to practice.
Thank
Any
you,
more
sir.
questions? No? Are you in Dhaka? Most of you?
No, sir.
Can you guess where I am now?
So maybe in
In
your
Dhaka?
hometown.
Oh, yes. Good guess. I'll be traveling to Dhaka uh, today. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Stay well. Attendance in online classes is difficult to take attendance, but we will note it down in the attendance register that on this date, there was a class, and it will not affect your attendance marks. Don't worry about it.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, from the department, it is being mentioned that the course is now will be counted as a 4 credit course. So will the total
Yes.
marks is of 50 or 100?
Yes, I got it. Shada sir told me that there has been a mistake. I mean, the mistake has been repeated quite a few times. He clarified the things to me. The midterm was out of out of
15
12.5,
marks, sir. Uh,
15. So I will probably
yes,
convert
sir.
it to 25 or 30 probably. I'll check it again. And the final exam will be out of maybe 50 or 60. I mean, it will be, I mean, the marks distribution will be the the same as in full credit courses, full 4 credit courses. Thank you very much for reminding me about this again. Yes, we'll have to uh, uh, be careful. There has been a mistake. This is a full credit course, and Shadat sir was trying to request me so that I take more classes, and I informed him that sir, although it has been mentioned as a half credit course, but in the routine, in the class routine, it is it has been considered as a full credit course. So I'm taking 4 different classes with 2 sections on 2 days. And he was again surprised and at the same time relieved that there will be no problem with the class routine. Yes, thank you.
স্যার
If you
আমাদের
don't
মিড
have,
টার্ম এক্সামের মার্কস দেওয়া হয় নাই?
yes, yes,
স্যার আমাদের মিড টার্মের মার্কস দেওয়া হবে কখন?
আমি দেব আমি এই যে একটু ঢাকাতে গিয়েই তো দেখা শুরু করব, ইনশাল্লাহ দিয়ে দেবো। পরীক্ষা কবে? পরীক্ষা দেরি আছে না?
স্যার আমাদের ফাইনাল এক্সাম ধরেন মের 16-17
মার্চ,
তারিখে।
16 মে থেকে শুরু।
এর আগেই দিয়ে দেবো। মে কত তারিখে হতে পারে?
16 স্যার।